Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Triple N Media. I am Dr. Nik Nikam, and this is Tech Talk. Today, we are going to talk about Apple input and output devices. We are talking about the i7, iPhone, and of course, the Mac 2016, which still hasn't gotten off the gates, but still there are some rumors now that this 3.5 millimeter headphone jack, which is the mother of all headphone jack for almost 40 years, may be gone with the new iPhone 7 and perhaps MacBook Pro. When I heard that, I thought, man, this is crazy. This is like Apple and motherhood. How can you get rid of motherhood? I mean, this is the gold standard, I should say, God standard for a headphone. But Apple wants to change that. They want to get rid of this one and replace it with something which we don't even know what it is. But we're going to guess it towards the end of this presentation. I cannot imagine for the world how you're going to replace this nice, smooth, round tip which can, one, receive audio and send audio to the headphones. And they're going to replace it with something different. You know what? When they replace it, all your headphones, including the big Beats and Bose headphones that you bought for $300, they're not going to fit into this new iPhone 7 or, for that matter, MacBook Pro. What are you going to do? Well, I guess you have to buy another $50 adapter to go on top of this, which will go with the new audio input-output source. Isn't that crazy? Anyway, I thought maybe I should do some research about Apple and Apple products. I have known Apple ever since the first Apple was released. In fact, I had Apple II in my doctor's office. I had written an Apple II basic medical billing program, and at that time I had a Corvus 2 megabyte hard drive for which I paid $2,000, and my medical billing program was later on moved to IBM PC Basics, and later on it was moved to C language. But that's another story. Let's look at how devices have come and gone in the Apple history. Let us start off with, here is a little chart showing Apple I/O devices, input-output devices. And here is a long list of devices, and at the bottom we have the years starting from 1980 to 2020, and in each row it tells us when this device was introduced, when the device was removed from the market, when the last unit was shipped with this discontinued device. Okay, let's look at ADB. Then we have the SCSI. We have the VGA monitor. You all remember that VGA monitor, that green screen? The first monitor I started off was like a CRT, where the emblem of the hospital and all the text were all sort of embedded because they were constantly on for long periods of time. Then we had the DVI for video input. Of course, who can forget the floppy drive? 5.25 and 8.25 inch floppy drives. Boy, when I got my first floppy drive, it was 64K, and I was out of this world. I said, I can write something and I can erase it and I can rewrite it. Boy, that was like a dream come true. Then we moved on to CD, which had like 650 megabytes of data. After that, we had the DVD, which could hold 4 or 5 gigabytes of data. We were not satisfied with that. Then we moved on to USB drives. USB is used for many purposes, and USB drives could hold anywhere from now 1 to 3 terabytes. Now the most latest kit is, of course, USB-C, which is the latest one, which is 10 times faster than the USB 2. Then similarly, we have Firewire, 30-pin, Lightning, Thunderbolt. Why do we need all these things, and why have they come into market and then disappeared? Let's look at the history a little more carefully. And here is the typical ADB, which was used to hook up your keyboard. Remember, the keyboard and the mouse had this type of a connector, and that came into market somewhere in 1985, and by 2000 it was gone, kaput. The next one that came into the market was the SCSI drive. Actually, this is an Apple II SCSI card. This is to connect to peripherals like a hard drive, something like that. Anyway, it came into the market around 85, and about the same time as that of ADB, it disappeared from the market. Okay, then we have, oh boy, do you remember looking at this? An Apple monitor, one of the earliest monitors. Of course, this was a monitor with, I should say, Apple II, because Apple III came in with a built-in monitor, which was with the CPU. And this Apple II monitor came into existence, like 2000, and by 2005 or 6, it was obsolete. Okay, here is the digital video input, or DVI, which was introduced in 2001 or something like that, and it lasted for about 10 years, and now it has gone out of fashion. It has been replaced by digital display, which we're going to talk about. The next item here is you remember the floppy drive? Man, I wish I had saved all these things. This could have been a collector's item. I could have auctioned off in auction houses for a fortune. Anyway, the floppy drive, 500 quarter-inch floppy drive, it started in 1984 and lasted till 2000. The next one is, of course, the CD drive. Look at this nice, slick CD drive, which came into existence between 92 and 93, and it lasted till about 2005. And the CD drive made a revolution because you could write up to 600 megabytes of data and read it and rewrite it, and that was like heaven. All right, let's go to the next item was DVD drive. Of course, the DVD drive is not here, and as I said, the DVD drive is just like the CD drive, except it can store 4 to 5 gigabytes of data. That was like the ultimate at that time. Of course, the DVD came between near 2000, and it lasted almost 2015 until last year. And it's only recently that Apple has totally dismantled any type of optical drive from its MacBook Pro series, so to speak. Okay, the next item is we have the USB drive. Here we have the USB 3, but we started off with the USB 2, which came around 1999, 98, and it is still in existence, but it has already been overtaken now in year 2015 and 16 by USB 3 or C. And obviously USB 3 is like 20 times faster than USB 2, and it makes sense to move on to USB 3. And of course, Apple is very fond of its FireWire, which came into existence between 98 or so, and it was discontinued in 2012-13. But the Lightning, which is been just introduced in year 2012, and it is still in the race, and it is continuing to be in the race, and it may have some special applications which we are going to talk about. You know, I started off by talking about headphones, so let's see which way we are going. Of course, Apple is pretty heavy on Thunderbolt, and every one of their laptops have Thunderbolt outputs. Now they are forcing you to use the Thunderbolt port for attaching a monitor connector or an HDMI connector or any hard drive or SSD drive you want to connect from outside. So they have Thunderbolt 1, now we got 1.4, and I guess as time goes on, it's just going to get bigger and better. But the only problem I see is that for everything that you need to connect, now with the latest MacBook Pro, you have to have an external connector. So they're just providing you all these big ports, but they don't really fit. For example, you want to connect a monitor. You have to connect a monitor adapter to the Thunderbolt cable. Same thing with the USB. If you want to convert USB into HDMI. You need a converter to take an HDMI in or out and then connect it through USB, or you can use a Thunderbolt. So there are a lot of variations. It's not clear which way the Apple is going, and if it's going to make sense. If you're going to have a half a dozen cables hanging outside with dangling adapters, think about it, with dangling adapters just to run a laptop. Well, what can I say? Oh, did I tell you they even got rid of the Ethernet port? Oh yes, the most recent one has no Ethernet port. The Apple 2015, the MacBook Pro. So what you have to do is you have to take a Thunderbolt, then do some search on Amazon, spend another $15 to $50 and get a Ethernet port, and then you connect your network card. Apple wants you to just use Wi-Fi. They said Wi-Fi is pretty good, and if you get 100 megabyte speed, there's no reason why you can't use Wi-Fi, and there's no reason to run wires through your walls and ceilings, and they may have a point. But the reasons for which we use Apple for robust video work, internet file transfer and all this, I would rather have a hardwired network connection. Similarly, you have the HDMI output, which some of the 2015 models had this HDMI output, but they are not going to be available in the future. Okay, now this is the lightning cable, which most of you have seen. This has been used in iPhone 6, and it's the same kind which is going to be used to power the iPhone and also to power the latest MacBook Pros, and it is going to have multitude of applications besides just powering your devices. Okay, here is, of course, we had the SD card reader. I'm not sure if MacBook Pro 16 is going to have an SD card reader. Maybe they want you to hook up something else to the USB drive which can have an SD card reader. That's what I'm saying. You see, the ports that are provided, because if you're working in a video world or photography world, you need to have an SD card, period. I don't care, what, because if I'm going to be using my MacBook Pro for video editing or video production, if I'm going to be using that for photography, I don't want to have 3 connections to download my SD card with 1,000 pictures or 3 hours of video. I would like to have an SD card which can directly take all the information, but then Apple is not going to listen to me or you for that matter. Okay, then let's see what else we got. Okay, some of the more recent models have HDMI, but from what I understand, the most recent one, the 2015 or 2016, the latest model is not going to have an HDMI. You are supposed to use the Thunderbolt, and look at here, HDMI is here, but it may be gone. It may have a short half-life because they are expecting you to use the Thunderbolt to make a connection, to put a adapter to convert it into HDMI. And that brings us to this last item, jack headphone. Okay, headphone. I showed you, let me get back to myself. Okay, let's switch gears here for a second and let's look at this headphone. As I told you when I started off with this presentation, this is the grand old 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. And the best thing Apple did was to put both input and output together, which most other people don't have. And as a result, now you can not only listen to the music, but you can also record your conversation so that you can have excellent like Google Hangout or Skype Hangout, whatever you want to do with just one piece of a headphone. Now, if they're going to replace this with like an USB drive, like an USB connector? I don't want to carry that bulky stuff in my pocket. Do you? Do you want to carry a big bulky pocket? But I have no idea. I think some people are saying that they may be using the lightning cable. The lightning cable is the one which provides the power supply to the iPhone or MacBook Pro. They can use the same input and transmit the audio in and audio out. It may sound like a very interesting, sophisticated, aristocratic, new approach which everybody is going to embrace with time, and they're going to love it. Now, let's face it. If you're in the audio business, if you're in the audio production business, if you're in the music business, millions and billions of headphones that are sold are either 1/8 inch or 1/4 inch. Now, if you have a 1/4 inch headphone for which you paid $200 or $300 or $500, how are you going to connect that to your MacBook or iPhone? That means you got to get another adapter to sit on top of this, or you have to get a new headphone, pay $500 or maybe $600, another $100 extra for the new connector, the lightning connector, and then you have to do it. How soon you think the other partners in the industry are going to adapt to this? Because the lightning adapter is only to the Apple industry, I think. I may be wrong. But you use headphones in all different types of industries, not just Apple PC. You use it with mixers and mega productions in musical shows. They all use different types of computers. And how are you going to adapt that? That means either you have to buy one separate unit for Apple devices and a separate unit for all other devices, or you have to get an adapter. That means every time you add an adapter, you're going to have problems with sound transmission, reception. But I think Apple is going to figure it out. But that's in a nutshell the rise and fall of various Apple input and output devices. And the most interesting and the most intriguing one that is before our eyes is this 3.25 inch, 3.5 millimeter headphone jack. Okay, time will tell us what this headphone jack is going to be replaced with. Until next time, I am Dr. Nik Nikam, and you have been watching Triple N Media for Tech Talk. And please do subscribe to our YouTube channel. We also have a Facebook page, which is Triple N Media. We would like you to visit our Facebook and like our Facebook. So until next time, you have been watching until next time, you have been watching Tech Talk on Triple N Media, and I am Dr. Nik Nikam. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.